A biblical perspective on life, culture and current events. This is 2020 on Vision.
Well, let's turn our attention to the increasing momentum for what some describe as a universal push to expand abortion across Australia. The powerful abortion lobby has been relentless in their push to make abortion easier, cheaper, and more convenient to put their babies to death. Kathy Clubb is a pro-life advocate working with the Endeavour Forum. She takes care of the e-News Forum when you're connecting with Endeavour. She's endured legal action that took her right to the High Court, arguing that abortion laws were unconstitutional. The High Court ultimately dismissed any appeals. Kathy, a special welcome along to 2020.
Oh, thanks very much for having me, Neil. It's wonderful to be back.
Kathy, just briefly, as we get a conversation underway around a really important topic like this, you are, in fact, a convicted pro-life advocate. Take us back to just the circumstances of the time, in a nutshell, what you've endured so far to get to a point where you're an authority to speak on these issues.
Well, in 2016, Neil, you may recall that exclusion zones were introduced into Victoria, having already been introduced in Tasmania, and they stopped pro-life advocates from even praying outside abortion mills in the hopes of trying to get a woman to change her mind at the very last moment. It was the 11th hour attempt to save the baby's life. So I violated that law and was arrested and went through the court system in the hopes that we could challenge the law at the constitutional level. And as you said, we were unsuccessful. Graham Preston and I were both involved in that case. But it was a landmark case, and it was a matter of just trying to do something. We failed, but we tried.
Well, Kathy, special honour to you, because I know listeners to our conversation will recognise the courage that it took to push that all the way to the High Court. But there's something very important to talk about that's beyond what happened all those years ago, because the face of the abortion machine is changing. Less of those abortion clinics now and more about abortion pills. What do you see as you see the changing landscape?
Oh, Neil, I definitely think that abortion pills are the future of abortion worldwide. We know that in some countries, even in some African countries, they account for 95% of the abortions. In Australia, it's around 40 to 60%. We're not quite sure, and it might vary a bit among the states, but let's say round about half. And I think over time what we're going to see is more research from the abortion lobby in that area, coupled with more prenatal diagnoses, so that eventually there won't be such a thing as late-term abortion, because all the babies who they think might have something wrong with them will be filtered out before then, and the women who don't want their babies will have already disposed of them in the first trimester via the abortion pill.
Kathy, new studies are coming out all the time. Those that are coming out of the US now that are saying just how dangerous the abortion pill sequence is. How do you reflect on that?
Well, the one that's had a lot of exposure recently is from the Ethics and Public Policy Centre, and their findings show a really outrageous discrepancy between what the abortion industry has been telling us are the side effects for the abortion pill. They found that adverse events are almost 11%. So almost 11% of women who take the abortion pill experience something quite serious, including hospitalization and so on. And of course, it goes without saying that almost 100% of the time the baby's killed as well, and that's certainly the intention. But at the moment, we're just talking about the effects on the women. Another stat, we had been told that, for example, a follow-up surgical abortion following a failed abortion pill abortion was around 1%. These new findings say that's almost 3%. And the missed ectopic pregnancies, which are life-threatening for the mother, are also severely underreported. So it's thrown a spanner in the works, and of course this kind of study is being widely discredited among the more liberal media outlets, but I think it's worth investigating and pushing for investigations. We really do need to get to the bottom of it so that the abortion lobby isn't free to say, oh, this is just a safe alternative.
When studies like this come out and they are ignored or played down by those groups that push abortion, that's challenging, isn't it? That's why there needs to be some level of official capacity to be able to research these things. What about the official bodies that we usually rely on for the safety of the sorts of medications and pills that we might be taking? What are they doing in all of this?
Well, it seems that they're in league with the abortion lobby. That's the only conclusion that one can draw, because there is so little investigation. The same statistics are thrown around. They're several years old now as well in Australia, and also in America. The consensus was to rely on old data there as well, old FDA data, until this new study came out. So I think it's in everyone's best interests, except perhaps Murray Stopes and other people like that, that there is a thorough investigation, very big, and that doctors and academics are allowed to simply tell the truth and talk about their observations. And we need really thorough studies. I've noticed that a lot of the studies are skewed towards things like, I should say a lot of the data is skewed towards proving, for example, that women need greater access to a pharmacy in their area or to telehealth or whatever. There's this big focus on the women in regional Australia not having access to the abortion pill and so on, or perhaps Indigenous Australians not having enough access. It's the data that's being pushed is to show that there aren't enough chemists or doctors prescribing the abortion pill. That's not the kind of data we need. We need to know how many women are suffering side effects. What is the true proportion of abortions that are due to the pills? We don't have this information because there isn't enough data collection, let alone thorough investigations.
The push for all of this expansion of abortion pills, I imagine, being driven by the likes of the political party, the Greens. But so far as what's happened in New South Wales just recently, there was a major push for relaxation of abortion, and some of those provisions in the bill were discounted, but there were others that were upheld. Where are things at now? Because if we've been on a sort of a slippery slope now for decades, what does it look like, say, even in the state of New South Wales, or you might be able to compare various states? What is it like now on the abortion front?
Well, the part of the bill that went through wasn't surprising. That was the part that gave nurse practitioners and endorsed midwives the ability to prescribe the abortion pill. That really only brought New South Wales into line with some of the other states, most notably the ACT. So it wasn't surprising that went through. The more extreme parts were amended, thank God, and I think that really was through the power of prayer. The kind of sections that were going to force health professionals who had a conscientious objection to refer for abortion, but also possibly to have to terminate. And that there was the possibility that the law would be tweaked in the future, had it gone through, to force Christian and Catholic hospitals to provide abortions. So that's really, really extreme. And as you say, the Greens are notoriously pro-abortion, but unfortunately all the political parties, or almost all of them, certainly the major parties, are pro-abortion to some extent. And what I've noticed is the narrative in the US as well around abortion has shifted to focus on late-term abortion, which is, of course, a heinous thing, but most abortions are early abortions, and as I said before, over time, I think they're going to be covered by the abortion pill. So we have to really be talking about all abortions, not only late-term abortions.
Okay, and when we talk about this universal access, movement towards that, dramatic changes that are happening in the abortion machine, it's as though it's become more marketable now to offer women chemical abortions rather than that image that they might have had in a clinical abortion. So it's becoming even more widespread because it makes it sound so much easier, and it probably makes it sound safer, but that's not necessarily the case either.
No, it's certainly not safer. I think it's much easier for doctors. They don't have to worry about any consequences if there is an adverse effect. They can just, with a medical abortion, the woman takes the pills at home. So everything happens at home. And if she has some kind of complication, she's advised to go to a hospital. So I think that lets the doctors off the hook, whether they're a GP or an abortion provider. So that's one thing that the abortion industry would love. Certainly abortion has been destigmatized, and there has been a big propaganda campaign from the abortion lobby to take away that stigma and normalize abortion. So that's been very successful. And I think that's just going to keep increasing now over time as we've got these generational pushes. Maybe the grandmothers out there, or probably the great-grandmothers out there, might still think there's something wrong with abortion. But, the grandmothers, that's my generation, really. Fewer of those would be against abortion 100%. And then so they're going to be training their daughters and their granddaughters to not think twice about abortion. So we have a big job ahead of us as far as changing the culture. And, it's difficult to know where to start sometimes, but at least just telling the truth is a good place to start.
Start with the truth, and of course you need to build a movement on that truth foundation, and needs to be a grassroots response. And we're seeing some glimmers of hope around that with some major protests that have been happening on the streets around the nation. But the thing to note today is that change is here. The abortion machine is changing. There's much more of a focus on those abortion pills than there ever has been. Kathy Clubb is a pro-life advocate. She works with Endeavour Forum and takes care of their e-news forum. When you're connecting with Endeavour Forum, you might like to specifically note what Kathy's role is and take note of the good things she's writing about. You can connect with Kathy at endeavourforum.org. That's endeavourforum.org. And you can follow her on social media. Kathy, thanks so much for your update today on 2020.
Thank you, Neil. God bless you.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.